Hello and welcome to a overview and usage of Point Cloud Engine 5.2 for Unity 2018 and up. The goal of this was an intermediate release before version 7 that has a more solid rendering system and basically a whole lot less mucking around than the previous version. We're starting with the converter. The project has once added to the new scene, you'll have these folders here. This is just where you can put, well, once you build an exe, you'll create these folders. But while working, you don't really need to use that local path. So it comes with two scenes, the converter and the renderer. Here I have the converter opened. It's really just an empty object with a script attached, and you have some basic settings here. This here is the export path, but it's also the path to the actual PCD file. Once you export from Cloud Compare to PCD, so if we have a look at where I store mine, okay, so this is the path to my PCD files. Keep them all here. And then, so you just grab the name and put the name of the file here, and that is the path to that file. You can control the scale. The first section provides a preview, so you can do this multiple times if you need to find the correct scale if it's larger. Threshold. I'm not sure if that will have an effect in this current release. I don't think it will. But if actually no, it won't. Yeah, because I'm not using the other system. But so just leave that as 0. Flipping XZ will flip the XZ axis of the point cloud, so that some point clouds are stored in right-handed matrix and left-handed, so sometimes it'll look upside down. If you need to do that, you can flip the X and Z, or sometimes it's mirrored, so you'll flip it on X. At the moment I recommend to send it to +0, but you do not have to. Exporting normals only if you actually have normals in the point cloud, otherwise it will still export the properties, some placeholder properties if it doesn't contain any, but the file size is ultimately smaller if you don't. This is only valid if you export normals, and currently not really. Will only be used if you have the lighting. Debug, that's just some information that'll come here. Visualize, leave that checked. That'll create a debug visual for you to look at to make sure these settings are what you would want. Sector size, leave that at 16 for now. It is not really used in this current version, but there's the version 7 which is based on this coming in that requires this setting, but it's just there for now, so don't worry about it. Alright, and the first stage is stage 0, where it loads it in and will give you a preview of what it looks like. It also saves it to a binary format to start with, and then we move on to stage 2, and it creates an LOD for each section. So let's have a look. Now right now it's being loaded in and re-exported out, and also generating the debug visual. And as you see, that needs to be flipped on the XZ. It's a classic example of how this happens sometimes. So once you've seen it's incorrect, you make your change and then press play again, and that will make sure everything's okay. Okay. Now, alright, so that's visualization. You can have a look at your cloud. Alright, so that's converted. Now we do the second stage of the converter. This generates the LEDs and etc. And it'll create a folder with your cloud name and final after it. And okay, yeah. So the sectors. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So make sure you leave that sector size to 16. Okay. So that's done. That's converted. So what we'll do, put that back to the original settings for the next usage, and go to the renderer. Right now. Okay. So firstly, these are two I've already converted. One contains a script in renderer called point cloud static, and this is this one. This is basically for use with virtual reality because the other one contains lighting and normals and backface culling, and that is best for non-virtual reality because of the update system at the moment. Because this is basically it's loaded into memory and then just so it just draws the points. The point cloud static, on the other hand, doesn't. It loads into memory in the start section, and then it'll just be drawn continuously. Okay, so basically you'll put the same file path to where your PCE file is, and you'll grab the folder name, which is there. That is the final conversion, because that's where all the data is that was just converted, and put that folder name there. Now, when you do a final build, you'll check this, and what that'll do is you'll have to create, when you build the exe, create a folder called assets, point cloud resources version 5, and then you would paste that folder into that directory. And then the reason I do it this way is just because every time, if you did all the conversion within the local of Unity, it has to update all its files, so it's a pain in the butt. So it's best to work outside of it, and then at the end, when you're ready, just copy it into the actual exe. You have 10 LEDs, but 0 to 10, so that'd be 11, I'd say. This is your compute shader that does the drawing. It then passes out to a well, it doesn't do the drawing, but it does the lighting and etc. if needed, and also it fills the buffer for the draw procedural calls. And this last shader is just the debug visual. So if I, just like in the last version, you can come down to point cloud visual create, and you should be able to come down to point cloud visual create. Alright. It's making a liar of me. Okay. So yeah, so in the editor you've got a lightweight debug visual. Oh, I know that's not working. Well, I'm not actually sure, but I will get to the bottom of that in a second. Oh, I see. Local path. Duh. Make sure that's unchecked if you're using your... There we go. Alright. There it is. And then you've got a low... Just something you can look at it in the editor. Okay. Now, I'll press play, and you'll see the difference between the two point clouds that I have right here. Right now VSync is on, and it seems to give stable rendering with that on. It's not a real problem. This one has the okay. This has lighting, so if I have a look here, you can that the ambient lighting, and also its direction. As you see, it's all little points. Okay, and the other, this cloud here. Okay, so the difference is, yeah, this to create a new script. Just say I wanted to make it from scratch. Basically, if coming into the renderer, you've got two scripts. Don't worry about this camera manager. That's just a side thing right now. You've got these two scripts: point cloud static and point cloud static 2. Number 2 is for if you're exporting with normals and want lighting and backface coloring. That's all there. The other one is just straight points and color and is best for virtual reality. The other one, it will work for virtual reality, but if the point count's too high, you're going to get some judder because it's constantly, I think there's a mismatch between where it's updating the buffers and drawing with draw procedural, so that's fine for non-virtual reality, but yeah, so at the moment this is fine for non-virtual reality, but in VR you'll want to use this one, which is just color and points. It's just a lot faster and isn't being updated every frame. Any position, rotation, and scale has to be done prior to loading. So if I move that there, as you see, it just sort of moves the cloud in. But whereas this one, the point cloud static 2, you can increase the scale, runtime. As you see, it's got backface coloring, but if you turn off the backface coloring and lighting, you just got a and as you see, the actual texture, the base texture, is a baked AO, so that's why the back is always dark on the Buddha, because it's baked. Alright, so that's the basic overview of the capabilities of 5.2. It's great in VR, but yeah, I'll just show you how to make one. So you create an empty script, F2. Actually, I'll get rid of that. Okay. So if you want to make a new one, all you do is create empty, call it point cloud. And you give it, oh yes, one other thing, you'll have to give it a tag. If it's point cloud static, use point cloud static. If it's point cloud static 2, use point cloud static 2 as a tag, as you see here. And alright, and then you just add the script. Uncheck local for now. Fill in your path to what is yours, and copy the folder. Set your LOD from 0 to 10, but I'll just show you what it is. Let's say 4. Nothing else you have to change, and it just works. Oh, better move it. Okay, as you see, yeah, so at an LOD of 4, it's the same cloud but with a reduced point count. So if we it's just options, like if you are having trouble in virtuality and you just needed to go a bit faster, you can reduce the LOD quality, so say a 1. and gives you pretty much a very, not a terrible point cloud, but it's just there in case you need to get bit more power out of it. But 0 would be the desired for the original cloud. Currently, there's no point cloud sizing. That is still being worked on. That will probably be the only other update for this version when it is done. And yeah, so that's the basic overview of its capabilities, and it's just a lot cleaner and more stable. All right, so take care, everybody, and yeah, hope it's useful.